What's up, fakers? I just want to start this video by thanking you all for how well the Sonic video did. When I was originally making that video, I did not expect it to receive as much support as it did, so that's really cool, and it shows me that you guys wanted more. So here I am with the challenge on trying to beat all of Shadow's levels with 0 points. So we'll have the same rules. I'll have all the power-ups. I can use checkpoints, but I have to keep track of the points I've scored, and I can use save states because some of these tricks are really hard. Anyway, enough yapping, let's get right into it. So we'll start off Shadow's challenge with Radical Highway. Now, one thing that will make this a little more difficult than Sonic's video is that we do not have access to the super bounce, which, if you will remember, was one of the solutions to many of my problems in the other video. So we'll see how far we can get with Shadow without that very, very useful technique. So the level is pretty smooth sailing until we reach this loop right here, which is the first of many that will try to direct us into a trail of rings. So we need to find some way around that. Now the solution to this looks pretty simple, just jump off and over. But we run into something kind of funny. You actually float here like the one section of the level where you're above the abyss. So I don't know why this is here, and it kind of makes no sense. Either way, we can just approach the loop and fall down while collecting 0 rings. However, right after, we immediately run into another obstacle, which will automatically propel us into a ring capsule and a trail of rings. So we need to find a way around that. The normal way to get around this would be jump into that building and just don't hit the spring, but I decided to jump around like an absolute maniac. After that, there's nothing of note for quite a while, except right here you have to dodge some bullets and make a spin dash jump to get across, but it's a pretty easy one. Our next obstacle is this loop-de-loop, which, like the one before, wants to propel us into a trail of rings. However, unlike the other one, this one is tricky to deal with because of that spring and pit that immediately follow. But this really doesn't end up being a problem because we just jump off once we reach that section of the loop, and we are able to just walk towards the spring normally. For our first actual trick, we have this neat little spin dash jump to land on this spring to ascend up here without having to break any boxes or score points on those trick pulls. Now, we're approaching the final 2 loops of the level where I made a realization about something that I did not like. Oh, both of those loops have rings on them, don't they? So after a bit of experimenting, I figured out how to go slow around the first loop and land here, but that still gave me no answer for that pesky second loop. Just to give you an idea of what I'm dealing with, watch how this loop will just teleport me to the center and force me to start running, and then if I try to jump off of it, the wonky gravity throws me in all different directions. However, the problems for us don't even end there, because immediately after the loop, there's a scripted section which makes it very hard to change direction while also teleporting you back into the middle where that trail of rings is. After about an hour of testing, I figured out I could collect the first ring, jump out, homing attack back in, and only collect the second ring right before we got to the end where we can spin dash jump over that section and finish the level with 20 points. However, I was so close to avoiding both of those, it just left me feeling unsatisfied. After countless attempts, I finally went and asked the legendary whippersnapper for help, and this is what he said.
Just go around it. It's not that hard.
And so, after hearing his sage-like wisdom, I attempted the jump one more time. But we'll get back to that later. The next level is White Jungle, where unlike Green Forest for Sonic, we actually have a 10-minute time limit instead of 8 minutes. So we will not be getting any time bonus on this one. Makes you wonder though, why does Shadow get more time to get out of this island? And our first obstacle of this level is, you guessed it, a loop that wants to send us into a trail of rings. Man, I wonder if you guys are going to get tired of me saying that. However, unlike the others, this loop is actually kind of tricky, where you have to wait until close to the last moment to jump off, or else you're just going to fall into the abyss. But it's nothing too difficult. Next, we have this ramp right here, which will send you into a group of springs, and it really wants to pull you into this ring capsule. But we are able to avoid this by just hugging the right side of this ramp. This will put us far enough to the side that we do not collect the rings, and we won't even hit the springs to begin with. Next, we have another loop that wants to send us into rings, and yes, the solution is just to jump before you get there, yada yada yada. Next. Alright, now we have an interesting problem when we get to this room and there's two robots roaming around, but there's also these boxes that we have to get through. Now, to me, it doesn't seem just as easy as jumping through them like in City Escape, and obviously we can't destroy the boxes because that'll give us points as well. However, after brute forcing it for a little while, I did finally figure out that you can just squeeze your way through these boxes if you just are persistent enough and get the angle right. But the hard part is going to be doing it with these enemies here. And well, after being shot down by this enemy about 10 different times with a little bit of persistence and a little bit of luck, I was finally able to squeeze myself through here and get beyond these boxes with 0 points. The last major challenge of this level comes from this section where you're supposed to utilize the Lightspeed Dash, as the game gives a check that you actually picked up the power up. But we're able to get around it with a simple spin dash jump. So the level's pretty straightforward from here. All we have to do is just go to the end and wait for 9 minutes and 20 seconds to complete White Forest with 0 points. So the only thing that could stop us is having the time run out, but I wouldn't let that happen, right? Oh, come on, are you kidding me? All I wanted was a bowl of pretzels. Next, we have Skyrail, which wastes no time by forcing us to switch between these rails twice to avoid 2 different trails of rings at the very start of the level. This level is very short, but if we're gonna have a lot of sections like that, it might end up being trickier than you might expect. I lied. This is actually the final rail where you need to dodge anything. So you just need to switch back and forth when the items or rings are coming, and it's really not that hard. Switching's pretty easy. But for the rest of the level, we actually just need to stick on the left-hand rail, and there's nothing. Yeah, kind of crazy, I know. However, if we jump down here, we'll come across this spring, which will send us into a group of rings. So we're going to have to find another way up. From here, we'll do a spin dash jump and reach this spring that is past that trail of rings. And now we can just climb up this mountain while avoiding the gunfire from these 2 enemies. And just make sure you avoid that extra life along the way. And now I can just ride down the left rail like I mentioned before, and I don't have to worry about collecting any points. So, yeah, that's basically it for Skyrail. Yeah, very short level, not much to it. So, I'll take it. I'll take an easy 0 point and move on to Final Chase.
Here we go.
So when I started this challenge for Shadow, I thought Final Chase was going to be pretty difficult because of all the rail grinding and the goofy gravity gimmicks switching things up. But we'll just have to go see how difficult this level was. It's gonna be hard if I play like that the whole time. So this really has nothing to do with gaining points, but I had a really hard time getting around this enemy without dying. I chose to include this because it demonstrates a difficult part of this challenge that I haven't really talked about, and it's the fact that, because I can't pick up rings to get points, I'm having to do this level, and all of the levels, with no rings being instant death the entire time. So not only is it hard to avoid the points in general, but it's also hard just to not straight up die to all the obstacles. So when we approach this, let's call it gravity tube, if you hit this spring up here, that'll actually get you 200 points, which is a lot harder to avoid than you might think. What I had to do here was just jump off the back of the cylinder, land on top of it, and just jump over the spring to avoid those points. Luckily, this ramp does not have the same problem, so we can just run through here. The next kind of obstacle is after this first indoor room, you come out of this with such speed that you have to hold left pretty immediately to not collect a ring there. Next, we have this section where we have to stay on top of these tubes to avoid the artificial chaos, but there are ring pillars in the middle of each of them. So we just need to climb on top, but be very careful to not hit those, and then we can proceed with the next part of the level. Now, this rail grinding section may seem harmless enough, but if you fall off the end by the X, like you're supposed to, you'll get 400 trick points. That's the hard part about these rail grinding levels, is sometimes they just throw points at you for no reason. So the solution I had for this was to just jump off the rail a little early, and this time it didn't give me points. Not really sure why, but I'll take it. The only thing we have left to do in Final Chase is to avoid this one last artificial chaos without dying. Once we have carefully jumped around him, we are in the home stretch and we are able to complete Final Chase with 0 points. So yeah, the last 3 levels we were able to do with 0 points fairly easily.
Here we go.
Alright, well that's the end of the challenge. We scored 20 points in Radical Highway and that's it. No, I'm just kidding. You guys knew I would find a way. Oh. Alright, come on, come on, come on, come on. Get over it, get over it, get over it. Yes! I did it! I did it! Let's go! Oh my. I've been here for 2 hours. Oh, I can't believe I actually did it. Oh, I was starting to think I would never get it done. Wow. So it turns out that if you start your spin dash at this very specific location, you are actually able to jump out the front of the loop and homing attack back onto it later on past the rings. Then we just jump over the final set and get to the end of the level, scoring 0 points in Radical Highway. I really did not think this was possible when I first started the level, but here we are.
Here we go.
So there really isn't too much left to say besides the fact that yes, it is possible to beat all of Shadow the Hedgehog's levels with 0 points, which caught me as a bit of a surprise because I really thought without the super bounce that we were going to struggle a lot more than we did, but it turns out it wouldn't have even helped us at all. Either way, I just want to thank you guys if you're still watching at this point, and just thank you for the support on the last 2 videos. I really appreciate it. It's still blown me away just how many subscribers and comments and just positive engagement I received, and some constructive criticism as well that I hopefully tried to implement into this video to make it even better than the last one. So just let me know who you want to see next, and I will see you guys next time.